When we buy a new car today, we look for one specific guarantee: the 5-star safety rating. We see multiple airbags and a reinforced chassis, and we feel a profound sense of security. That rating often creates a sense of total invincibility, even when pushing the needle to 150 kilometers per hour on the highway. Marketing promises disappear the moment a vehicle meets the rigid mathematical laws of physics. Once your speedometer crosses a very specific threshold, the Ring logic behind those 5 stars reaches a physical breaking point. Relying on a safety rating is a dangerous gamble for any driver who lacks a clear understanding of the mathematical limits of their speed. This diagram outlines the exact math of a crash. Kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. The critical part is the square. Doubling speed doesn't double the destructive force. That force is multiplied by exactly 4. Let's test how this plays out in the real world. We'll take a 2,000-kilogram SUV driving directly toward a rigid concrete divider exactly 15 meters away. Before the car's mechanics come into play, we have to account for human biology. When an obstacle appears, it takes the average human brain half a second just to process the visual danger and command your foot to press the brake pedal. This inescapable half-second biological delay is the primary variable that turns a controlled stop into a fatal collision. At 50 kilometers per hour, the math works in your favor. You spot the divider 15 meters away, your brain reacts, you hit the brakes, and the vehicle slows down to roughly 25 kilometers per hour before it hits the concrete. At that speed, the kinetic force is limited to roughly 10 tons. Your car's engineering easily absorbs that energy, and the passengers are perfectly protected. Now, let's double the initial speed to 100 kilometers per hour. During that same half second it takes your brain to react, your car travels nearly 14 of those 15 meters before braking even begins. You barely touch the pedal. The vehicle strikes the divider at 96 kilometers per hour, generating an overwhelming 145 tons of force. Modern vehicles have crumple zones, steel structures designed to crush and absorb shock, but they're tested for impacts only up to 64 kilometers per hour. When hit with 145 tons of force, those steel structures are completely overwhelmed. They don't absorb the impact. They collapse directly backward into the passenger cabin. At 100 kilometers per hour, kinetic energy destroys the vehicle's physical defense mechanisms before the airbags even have a chance to deploy. Pushing the scenario to the extreme limit of 150 kilometers per hour changes the math entirely. In your half-second reaction window, the car covers over 20 meters. You run out of road before your foot ever touches the brake. The car impacts the divider at the full 150 kilometers per hour, generating an astronomical 354 tons of force. At this threshold, your airbags and seatbelts provide no protection, even if they deploy perfectly and hold your body securely in place. While the car stops instantly, your internal organs do not. Your heart, your brain, and your liver continue moving forward at 150 kilometers per hour, tearing themselves apart against the inside of your own ribcage, a medical reality known as deceleration trauma. At these speeds, no amount of automotive engineering can prevent internal anatomy from failing under its own momentum. This graphic shows a best-case scenario where we give the driver far more space. If we increase the visibility of the obstacle from 15 meters out to a full 50 meters, the driver moving at 100 kilometers per hour has enough room to brake, scrub off speed, and survive. But the driver moving at 150 kilometers per hour requires so much braking distance that even with 50 meters of warning, they still brutally impact the obstacle at 122 kilometers per hour. A 5-star safety rating functions only as a secondary backup system, bound by the strict laws of math. The real boundary of safety lies with the driver and a single decision: keeping the speedometer strictly within the 80 to 100 survival zone.